Okay.
Hi, my name is Karina May. I'm here as a member of Small School of Art. I want to welcome Bishmika Gay and her presentation on She is Black and Black is She.
Everyone hear me? She is black, black is she. Little girl, who would you want to be? I like to draw and sing and write and be whoever the Creator made me to be. She is black, black is she. Well, we don't want no starving artists now, baby, do we? She is black, black is she. Excuse me, brother, would you please teach me? Will you help me to grow creatively? Will you learn me the truth, the light, and the way? Sure, sis, but you got to pay to play. You must push up and bust and tighten up that ass and lighten up that skin, girl. I don't know how we gonna help you pass. Let me thrust my righteous indignation into you, then you can get some mentorship follow through. She is black, black is she. You must bend over first to learn from me. She is black, black is she. You must bend over first to learn from me. She is black, black is she. I shall go to art school to be who I can be. My professor said, people in the Hamptons don't care about your social advocacy. Paint about nothing and then you will see it's the only way, black girl, you can be who you can be. She is black, black is she. Peace, sis. I love your creative ideals. Let's bond, let's peel fruits and get to the root of our demise as melanated, feminine, creative, celestial beings. Do you be seeing what I be seeing? Do you go through what I go through? Chauvinism and racism in the first degree. She is black, black is she. Girl, we can't be cool. I paid my dues. I refuse to share my space and time trying to connect with you on how I got mine. She is black, black is she. Let me raise my fist with my fellow feminists. Girl power and equal pay. White girls first, then you, okay? She is black, black is she. Don't you dare raise your heads above me. I am Ka, in unity with Jah, my aunt in Oshun, I gave birth to you, why don't you see? I am not a fixture in your story. I am not to be commodified, laid to the side when you deem I am voiceless. Why don't you see me? I am suffocating in your rooms full of nothingness. Why don't you see me? Of course I'm a creative being. I created you. Why don't you see me? To be born black and a woman does not curse me. It means I mothered you. I am a drop of sun under the earth. I am a drop of sun under the earth. I dropped you, sun, under this earth. She is black, black is she. She is black because black is me. When Christopher initially asked me to speak about feminism, I had to really think long and hard about it because it's not a platform I actually stand on in regards to my artwork. And also because when I think about the face of feminism, I think of a blonde-haired, blue-eyed white woman burning a bra running down Peachtree Street with an American flag. And since that's not me, I was very grateful when he presented to me a couple questions for me to ask myself before I presented to you. He asked me to think about what feminism meant to me, if I felt I did or did not belong to a feminist movement. Do I feel included or excluded, and does my work address feminism first? I intend to address these questions by sharing my work, personal accounts from my life, notes, thoughts, conversations with myself, speaking out loud to you. So I share the beauty of my frustration with you in poetic form because it is digestible. And it would seem that that has been the goal of my life's work, to create work, or my work as a creative, which is to create work of the black figure, the black experience, to make it easy, likable, understandable, ambiguous, and digestible. Mary Poppins says just a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down in the most delightful way. In her speech, The Wisdom of Our Foremothers, Dr. LaFrancis Roger Rose states that in African culture, the women make it sweet. When all others have failed, and when men cannot decide what is valid and what they ought to say, they say, bring the women, tell us what to do, help us to make it sweet. I have made it my purpose, my business, as a creative being, as a nurturing and loving mother, as a devout and faithful sister, kind of like a midwife hoping to give birth to a new artistic culture to make it sweet. I desire to be one who is a contributing creator, who visually depicts our beautiful struggle and the uncomfortable, hard, and ugly truth about us. Our dear brother Alan Locke says, after beauty, let the truth come. First slide, please. So the digestible, joyful Black experience. Next slide. I will be sharing images of my work from early 2000s to present day. Since 2005, I have created these figurative silhouettes of Black women and girls, normally using a bright, vibrant palette and acrylic and oil on canvas wood, the portrayal of Southern life and culture. Next slide. These dainty forms depict joyful, hopeful Black Bible-built nostalgia. I have purposefully created imagery which seeks to dispel the legendary myth of the angry, over-sexualized, monolithic Black woman. Next slide. The images you just saw are Nosy Neighbors, Sunday School, Flower Girls, and In My Proper Place. This adroitness, this desire to make struggle easier for everyone else around me is a learned behavior. And I would go as far as to say it is a practice that many people of color take part in, most especially women of color. Kind of like the John Henryisms coined by Sherman James, where people of color become overachievers to be a part of the GNC, which is the Good Negro Complete. Or the straightening of our hair, or the lighting of our skin, or the perfection of our diction to sound as white as possible. The mental instability, the post-traumatic stressors that can come from being in the United States as people housed in Black and feminine bodies, we have had to weather racism, chauvinism, and other isms in all forms of oppression. I want to give a few insights about me because they are important, and it helps kind of give you a gauge of where my body of work comes from. So I am Georgia-born, Georgia-bred. I have all my ATL certifications. I'm a Grady baby. I used to feed my brother red clay mud pies. I grew up in a two-parent household in what was then predominantly white Riverdale, Georgia in the 80s. My parents were hard workers, providers of a middle-class lifestyle for my brother and I. However, my father battled a lot of personal demons, and he battled those demons within our household. He was an illiterate, he was a functional illiterate, an alcoholic, and later turned drug addict. He could be verbally, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually abusive to my mother and at times toward my brother and I. And so when you grow up in a space like this and you don't tell and you're not able to control your environment and you have to swallow abuse, you learn to create pathways to cope. And so I learned to pretend like everything was okay. And I learned to be a creator of making everything okay. So you were not allowed to be too loud. You couldn't be too abrasive because my father was the only one who was allowed to have a distorted character. And so my mother turned to religion to cope. My brother turned to sports, and I made art my religion. My environment, if you would, kind of developed and shaped in me a feminist attitude. The desire to see women treated equally was born because I saw not just my mother, but women in my family and our community not valued, not cherished by the men in their lives. And while I witnessed and heard tales of the brilliance and beauty and dominance of the women in my family, they always seemed to be at the mercy of men. Next slide. These oscillating views where women ran things and manipulated the world around them and yet they were not in control was always confusing for me. And so through my work, I have sought to find answers and to be in control and to find some form of resolve. And so when I began to prepare slides for this symposium, I began to notice a pattern, especially in my earlier works from between 2005 to 2011. You will rarely, if ever, see any men. I never really noticed it before, the intention, but now I realize whether it was consciously or subconsciously by choice, I excluded men from my imagery. I've made a sort of utopia for Black women to live within these rectangular and square spaces. You will see women and girls, mothers and daughters, sisters and friends living in tranquility, sisterhood, without one man around. Next slide, please. They are dominant forces controlling the world around them, In my work, women are given centrality, freedom, honor, respect. Their beauty is glorified, and they sit in spaces of safety, vulnerability, and transparency. Next slide, please. And next. Yes, next. So, if by definition, we all agree that feminism is a person who believes in the social, political, and economic equality of the sexes, then, then I most certainly am a feminist. And this is a quote by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, not Beyonce. I know these memes say that Beyonce made this quote, but that's not true. I would extend that and say that I'm an ethno-feminist artist. Next slide, please. And by definition for that, I'll make it my definition. It means that I'm both an ethnic and female artist. The goal of my work is to empower women of color and to push their equality in society through my art. Jessie Whitehead writes in her abstract Feminism, Ethnicity, Selected Women Artists of Color that race is equal to or perhaps more important than gender to women of color. And I'll say in my case that's absolutely true. My experience in the world is from the perspective of being first Black in unity with a nation of people who look like me, and then a woman in unity with a nation of people whose gender identifies with me. I desire equality for all spirits living in human form, but my cause is first for women of color and all spirits housed in Black bodies. While some have the privilege of separating the two, their ethnicity and their gender, in order to step outside of these labels and solely embrace their humanness, people of color are not always so fortunate to be able to do that, just to be human beings. James Baldwin says that no label, no slogan, no party, no skin color, indeed no religion is more important than the human being. Within my work, I play the part of creator, observer, subject, author, narrator, and character. Next slide, please. And next. Thank you. I've sought to tell stories and to provide a platform where a Black woman's voice could be heard. Ain't I a Woman is a women's rights and anti-slavery speech that was given by Sojourner Truth. How many of you are familiar with that speech? Everybody should be go read. What I love and hate about this quote is its relevance, how it still applies today. How Sojourner spoke about being able to go head-to-head with men in the work field. How she spoke about giving birth to 13 children, most of whom were sold off to slavery, and yet no man recognized her femininity. Yet no man would put down his jacket for her to walk over a puddle. And that's bothersome because when you fast forward to present day, and how sisters are 65% head of households in modern day culture, how they are not only heads of households, they have a tendency to be lead in their fields, workplaces, and expertise. And they have to endure at times to see their own children sold off to a punitive prison industrial system. And yet, who actually recognizes their femininity? Next slide, please. A Blue Girl's Prayer. Black women are bombarded daily with images of beauty that rarely, if ever, represent them. They are weighted with the need to change their appearance to fit American cultural norms. I have personally listened to Black girls pray and ask God why they were made Black. Why were they made the way that they were? Begging to be made lighter. We who burn our scalps with chemicals to make our hair straighter. And for me, media is a form of witchcraft because witchcraft is anything that tries to manipulate you, right? And so Black women are constantly bombarded and manipulated with the thought that there's something wrong with the way our hair grows outside of our heads. It's something wrong with the way our lips are. And it's something wrong with our noses. And it's something wrong with our bodies and the way that we talk and the way that we walk. And it's always something wrong with it, but it's only wrong when it's housed in a Black body. It's okay when people appropriate and imitate, for instance, Iggy Azalea and or Kim Kardashian. And we only become acceptable when we change, i.e. Little Kim and or Sammy Sosa. Next slide, please. The Nurturer. I have on purpose tried not to veer away from being accused woman's work, because I see nothing wrong with making woman's work. Chauvinism and racism are written in our English language, and it is important for us to rewrite and create new words and new worlds that help to emancipate, especially women of color. Kind of like in hip hop, I would change what word and like what dope means, right? So dope initially means drug, but in hip hop culture, it means dope, right? So learning to change our language and our words. So the nurturer celebrates the breasts of Black women. Using collage and quilt patterns and buttons for the nipples, quilting and sewing are considered women's work. But no questions are asked in regards to womanhood when we feed our children from our bosom. No question is asked of womanhood when we embrace our lovers with our bosom. So why is it in question when we create? Next slide, please. The root, the mother, the teacher, the healer. The root is about assigning roles and names, the powerful triad parts that Black women play within our communities. And so I use kind of this repetitive white, blue, Dixie, and gray background. Specifically using a gray background because a lot of times we're not allowed to have gray areas in the Black community. The dichotomies of being both powerful and powerless, being built up and being knocked down, and without a choice of a other. It's always a Black or white issue within the Black community. I am certain these oscillating experiences happen often in the lives of people, but most certainly in the lives of men and women of color, where there's very rarely a middle ground. And I'll quote him most definitely. He says, "I find this distressing. There's never no in between. We are even niggas of kings. We are even bitches of queens," right? And so never a form or a middle ground for us. It either has to be one thing or the other. We can't have a middle place. And I believe that those struggles stem from the fact that we are out of order, divisive, and out of balance, out of our natural element of how things should be. These gender binaries in which men are privileged and women are denied privilege, where gender determines human worth, social value, did not exist in European languages, according to the book The Invention of Women by O.U. Women. I will close with my current body of work. Next slide, please. And next slide. Which is a fair game project. This imagery depicts silhouettes and deer-man hybrids running, leaping, and falling, trying to get away from their predators and abstractions with mixed media collage. This work focuses on the historical love-hate dichotomies between America and the Black body and the relationship that those who are housed in Black bodies have with themselves. I developed this body of work in 2011 from my concern as the mother of a 16-year-old son. I'm also the older sister of a now deceased younger brother. I am the friend, the lover, the cousin, the homie of several beautiful Black men. And so I decided that since I daily engage with Black men, I have permission to speak on the issues that concern me. I speak to the issues from a place of empathy. So like here in this piece, Wildlife, which is an ode to Tamir Rice. How would I feel as a mother if someone shot my baby like a doe in the woods? Where the killing of a police dog can get you 20 years, but the killing of a human life won't even get you a slap on the hand. Next slide, please. Or in my piece, Open Season, how does it feel to wear the scarlet letter of a felony every day? To have to jump through barbed wire fences of an unforgiving system that entangles you in joblessness, the inability to provide for yourself or for your family, to vote, to receive subsidized housing, ineffective recidivism programs that at times can pigeonhole you into committing the same crimes that got you put in prison in the first place. Next slide, please. How does it feel for our young Black men to be sacrificed on Chicago and California streets? I speak to this work without apology because it is important for me to talk about how mothers and sisters and cousins and aunties feel about the losses and struggles we have to face constantly within our community. Dr. Henry Clark states, when we look behind the historical curtain of colonization and slavery, we forget that history is being interpreted through the lens of people who from the beginning were afraid of women being in positions of power. However, the African man was relaxed with the African woman being in power. She was permitted to go as far as her mind could take her without ever feeling the slightest sense of insecurity. In a society of plenty, in a society where land was enough and water was enough, women were allowed to be secure, and so were African men. There are a lot of arguments on the topic of whether or not ancient African societies, if they were matriarchal, matrilineal, or solely patriarchal, only providing women with forms of power. But what we can agree on is that there was balance and unity among the sexes within African culture. There was no need for a dogma or literature concerning something that just was the standard. It was written into our culture. And when we struggle in places where we don't have balance and where the sexes don't complement one another. So I'll close by asking, can my work be considered feminist? I believe it can. Anytime you assert to empower the image of the Black woman, to call her beautiful, to not sexualize her, but adorn her with the characteristics that differ from the norm of Western culture, it can be seen as threatening, and it is most certainly feminist. The ability to make us visible is powerful and political, because rarely on a consistent basis are we seen in the positive light within the media. I do not have to be a part of an organization to be recognized in publication or by critics in order to proclaim that I'm a feminist, or that my work is feminist, or that I am a part of the feminist movement. I'm a female in constant motion, creating and reacting to the world around me, and therefore I embody a feminist movement. Thank you. Good.
Questions?
I'm just going to make a statement. Your definition of feminism is dope.
Thank you. Thank you.
What I mean by that is, from your initial kind of knee-jerk reaction in terms of Chris saying, how does this apply to you? And based on your definition, or perceived definition of it, and through that self-investigation, found that it was something more than what you thought. So I thought that was really, I appreciate that.
Thank you.
So I just had a question with, well, actually several, but in the beginning when you were saying about your skepticism in terms of feminism, because you associated with white, blonde, blue-eyed, where did somebody like Bell Hooks or Angela Davis fit into that universe?
Well, Bell Hooks talks about that in her books, and I'm familiar with Bell Hooks, and she does talk about that, and she embraces the fact that Black women can't speak on feminism. So she does talk about that in her work. I'm just saying, for me, growing up and what I knew to be, so we are a product of our environments, and so I'm speaking from where I understood feminism to be.
Right.
And so while I am familiar that Black women do have a stance in regards to feminism, I was also sharing in regards to African culture. Mm-hmm. There really wasn't anything that we necessarily had to stand on, it just was, right? And so we didn't, just because we didn't have an organization or a movement stating that we were feminists, it didn't mean that we didn't fight for those causes. Mm-hmm. And so when I think of the word feminist, I automatically address it and connect it to middle-class white women fighting and burning bras. And
right.
I'm saying that that's what that represents.
Right.
It's just, that was the first thing that came to mind, because initially, you can agree that in the 60s, there was a face.
Yeah, absolutely.
There was a face, and it was not a Black woman's face.
Right.
Let's try that.
Yeah. And then the other question, well, it's more an observation, because I think it's so interesting, one, that you make, like you made your definition of feminism, and I think we have, or like the idea of feminism being plural, because I also see, like, speaking just after Carla, like you guys must have some incredibly wonderful conversations when you get together at Smoke School of Art, because it's coming from very different perspectives in some ways in terms of how you approach feminism. And that's, so I'm wondering if you could share any of that, like in terms of, is it something where you meet for the process of Smoke School of Art, right? I know you meet every Friday, but is it something that it's like you exchange emails in between about these conversations, or
Chris didn't know we invited me to Smoke School of Art. Chris sent me a message on Facebook and was like, will you speak at this symposium for me.
Right.
So not to say I follow a Smoke School of Art, I'll say that, but I don't attend as actively as I should. However, after being a part of this, I will. But I know that they have a movement
That's wonderful.
absolutely right. I know they have I've attended one meeting. And
Uh-huh.
I think it threw me in such shock that I never went back again. Sorry. I could never return. And so, like, or some whole nother other. I don't know. But not to move away. But
Yeah.
I appreciate what they're doing,
Yeah.
because one thing that a lot of, just I'll say artists as a whole, they keep language going, and that's
Yes.
really important. And they keep language going, and they develop a collective. So, you know, a lot of times when we graduate from art school, it's like you don't ever connect with another real artist ever again. And the fact that they create language and they create connectivity is really important, because artists need that to breathe. You know, a lot of times for artists, we can be loners, right? You know, we just get in our cubby hole and, you know, we come out with masterpieces, but we haven't ate in weeks, you know, or haven't seen anybody for days. And so you can relate, right? And so that's what I appreciate about with Smoke School, or any collective, or any group of people who are artists who get together and bond. So I really feel like it's really important.
Great, thank you.
Yeah. We good?
So you referenced Yoruba religious traditions in your talk, and within Yoruba traditions, colors have profound significance, harnessing particular energies and power. And blue is very prominent. You spoke a bit about your, deployment of gray, but blue is also very prominent in this whole series of pieces that you presented. So I wondered if you could speak a little bit more
Sure,
about
I'm actually
the profundity.
I have to look at my bag. Is it the African Spirit, the Freedom of African Spirit? So I just started reading this awesome book that really goes over the color schemes of the Yoruba culture. And in Yoruba, the blue represents calm and the coolness of our people. So they talked about how in this book how we weren't always like these smiley people, right? Always smiling all the time. Because, initially when an animal, before they attack, they're smiling at you, right? So initially when you think about that and how we communicate with one another, to have a cool and a calm and not to have to smile all the time, I think that's really awesome, and that's what blue represents. But that's not why I have always used blue. But it's great to connect with the language as I'm continuing to develop my work. But I began to use, to make Black people blue, to encourage being very, very dark-skinned. So I love, really dark-skinned people. For me as an artist, that does everything for me. You have people on the Ivory Coast of the Côte d'Ivoire, they're just absolutely blue, almost black you're blue. And so for me growing up in the South, you have that term, and not just the South, but you're so black you're blue. Ever heard that? And so growing up, that used to be a way people used to talk down to you. You're so black you blue, or I can't see you at night, or you're purple, just stuff like that. And so I utilize or make the Black people in my imagery blue because I think it's beautiful, and that we should embrace our darkness. Black people come in every shade known to man across the board, which is, the other part that to me that makes us so beautiful, but it's to encourage the darkness and the beauty of us and not to, see it as ugly. Good. Thank you.